Hello, I'm still your instructor Hammer, and in this short video I'll be showing us 5 things to note while designing a questionnaire. Alright, like I stated in the last video, you need to understand that you have to really give time to understand the project topic you're about to research on. Alright, so you need to understand also that research becomes necessary, becomes very important when there is a problem to solve. Okay, now since research is important because of problems, then we should be grateful that in the world at large there are problems to solve. So that shows to you that the field of data analysis will always be needed, because there will always be problems to solve. Alright, so the first thing you need to note while designing a questionnaire is you need to understand the project topic adequately. Remember that the project topic is your broad objective, it's your goal. Most times it's called the long-term goal, right? If we are to compare it with when you're trying to write a plan, it's called the long-term goal. Okay, alright, so I gave an example here. You also need to understand that your goal has to be SMART. What do I mean by SMART? It has to be: S stands for specific, M is measurable, A is action oriented, R is realistic, and T is time bound. So if your project or your goal is not SMART, then I think you need to check it again, because it has to be SMART. Okay, so I gave an example here, which is a SMART objective, broad objective: to investigate on the knowledge and perception of CEOs in Ibadan North local government area towards the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank God it's going over now, but we might still want to investigate on the knowledge and perception of CEOs in Ibadan North local government area towards the COVID-19 pandemic on the economic growth of their companies from March to August 2020. Alright, Ibadan North local government area is in Nigeria. Alright, okay, so this is an example. You would see that in this we have a time bound. The time bound is, there is a specific time for this project, for this goal, which is March to August 2020. Okay, and action oriented, it's focused on a particular topic. We're not just saying to investigate on COVID-19, because we can decide to investigate on the knowledge about COVID-19, the perception about COVID-19, the effect of COVID-19, the attitude of people to COVID-19. So it's specific. Then we have a target population, which is what? The CEOs, the chief executive officers in Ibadan North local government area. Okay, so this is an example. Alright, the next point is that you need to understand your specific objectives. So the specific objectives are more of the short-term goals. So when you really understand your goal, which is your broad objective, you then come up with specific objectives. Alright, so based on the topic I just showed us, we then have those specific objectives: to document the social demographic characteristics of CEOs and their companies in Ibadan North, to determine the level of knowledge of CEOs in Ibadan North, and to determine the level of perception. So these are the specific objectives for this particular research based on the topic we chose. Alright, so the next point is you really need to understand the nature of the variables in your research. The nature of your variables, it is very, very important. You need to understand nature, and we have 2 types of variables: independent variable and dependent variable. Another name for independent variable is predictor variable, and another name for dependent variable is outcome variable. So what is an independent variable? Like the word independent, it means a variable that is not subject to change. It's not subject to change by any other thing. It doesn't change. It is fixed. It is constant. Dependent variable, which is also called outcome variable, is a variable that is subject to change by another variable. That variable can either be an independent variable or a dependent variable. So another dependent variable can be affecting another dependent variable. I hope you understand that. And most of the time, dependent variable is being affected by an independent variable. But remember, your independent variable is the predictor. It does not change. So an example here is this. We're going to be doing this together. So to document the social demographic characteristics of CEOs and their companies in the Ibadan non-local government area. For this, social demographic characteristics of CEO cannot change based on this research. My age cannot change. Yes, even if I travel to Canada today, or I travel to another country today, it doesn't affect my age, it doesn't affect my height, it doesn't affect my gender. So social demographic characteristics is an independent variable and it does not change. The level of knowledge can change. Yeah. Alright, so an example of this is, for example, if I meet with a CEO that has 3 masters in different fields, and then I meet another CEO with just a master program certificate or degree in just a field, you can't expect both of them to have the same level of knowledge. So level of knowledge can be affected by a particular variable. Like I stated, it can be affected by either a dependent variable, which is I just explained, level of education, or it can be affected by an independent variable like social demographic characteristics. The age of respondent can affect the level of knowledge of people. Yeah. So those that are young might have more might be more exposed to things relating to what you're researching on. Alright, so that is that about that. The next point is you need to understand your hypothesis. You really need to understand the hypotheses that are needed in your research. Okay, so null hypothesis. What is null hypothesis? Null hypothesis is it's most of the times it justifies that everything that happens in life is based on chance. So when you see like all these hypotheses that are shown here are written in the null hypothesis form. So you could see that I said there is no association, but alternative hypothesis is when we then run data analysis tests, and we're trying to just suppose or justify or discard the assumption that null hypothesis is saying that the association between level of knowledge and social demographic characteristics is based on chance. So if our analysis is significant, which we would understand later, you would say that the null hypothesis should be rejected. But if your analysis is not, if it's not significant, then we would fail to reject the null hypothesis. What is the null hypothesis saying? Everything happening is just based on chance. It's not based on anything. Alternative hypothesis is trying to say that no, not everything is happening based on chance, but some things happen just as a result of another entire thing, or like I said, maybe as a result of the presence of an independent variable. Right, so that's that about that. Right, the last point here is what you must understand: the most appropriate data type and data collection method for your research. Yes, data type. What do I mean by type of data? We have 2 types: the primary data and the secondary data. So when you know your topic, you should come up with your specific objectives. You should understand your nature of variable. You should understand your hypothesis, and from your topic you should ask yourself, okay, what type of data do I need for this research? Alright, the one I just showed us, it cannot be a secondary data, because secondary data are gotten from records, past histories, documents, report events. It's going to be a primary data because I'm interested in taking my data directly from the main source, from those that were affected, and in this example they are the CEOs. But secondary data has to do with when you're interested in you want to know the trends between a thing. Okay, we want to know the history of rape from 2010 to 2013. So we'll go to the hospital and ask them, please, or we go to the hospital to ask about immunization rate between 2010 2020, 21, 2020, of course. So that is what we call secondary data. So when you really understand your the data type, that's when you can then ask yourself, what data collection method do I need for my research? Now, most of the times for secondary data, all you need to do is just go to where you want to get your data, and if possible, check for it. Okay, for example, you're interested in the rate of immunization between some years. All you need to do is go to the hospital and ask them for their records, and then you start to check. Or you can also use some applications to do that online, of course. Okay, but if you're working with primary data, there are two types of data collection methods that you can use. One, quantitative data collection method, and qualitative data collection methods. Under the quantitative data collection methods has to do with collecting data that can be computed, that can be quantified. While qualitative data collection methods are collecting data, there are methods by which we collect data that cannot be computed. Most especially, you just want to get people's insights or views or opinions about a thing. Alright, for example, I give an example here. The questionnaire that we use both online and offline is an example of a quantitative data collection method, while qualitative data collection methods are independent, in-depth interview, focus group discussions, phone interviews are all under the qualitative data collection method. So I'm so sure that you've been able to learn something from this short video. I hope you apply it all, and see you in the next video.